Alright, here we go. World of Warships Legends. We're coming up on the second open beta weekend, or I guess closed beta weekend. I think that's this weekend, which means it's time to talk a little bit about World of Warships. Going to be talking about British ships. British ships are ships from Britain. More seriously, they are pretty fancy. I actually really like a lot of these, and some of them I don't really love. You'll get my opinion on pretty much every one of them. So we're making some interesting decisions there. Put that dude in there. No, do not want to do that yet. Okay, so here we go. We have to start from the beginning, right? There's a pretty serious chance that I will lose some games as we go through here, and I'm not going to sit around and watch the computer fight itself. So here we go. We're starting out with the Weymouth. You can see here, not a lot of armor. This is the tier 1 ship. Got 852 millimeter cannons shooting out to 10 kilometers. Nothing real special, tier 1. The only thing really noteworthy about the cruisers for the Royal Navy is that they shoot only AP shells. And that's true even at tier 1, which is really weird because you're pretty much the only ship that can citadel other ships at that range or at that level. So this will probably take about 30 seconds every time I start a game, which is unfortunate. But it is the way the world works right now. So, islands, good times. As the joke goes, this is noticeable as the island map because it has a bunch of islands on it. Other than that, it's water.
Starts.
So as you can see down there in the lower right hand corner is my reload. Right now I have just the one set of weapons, which are my primary guns, and they only shoot armor piercing, so I cannot select a different type of shell. I cannot switch to torpedoes. We're pretty much just learning how to play the game at this point, and trying to land shots on bots. So we should be coming upon the enemy ships here pretty quick. They usually run straight at people. There we go, there's one. Don't really have much of a shot, and like I said, 10-kilometer range, I'm probably not going to hit them, particularly if they're beyond 10 kilometers. Now the aiming reticle will tell me if there's a mountain in the way. Right there when you saw it just for a second. I can probably make this shot. I'm gonna press X. you know, honestly, not a terrible shot. I'm gonna slow down a little bit here. Slowing down doesn't really help me much at all, except that it's gonna make sure I don't drift too far forward. I can see that there are several things in front of me that I'm gonna want to deal with. And if there are several, that usually means that you want to make sure you're not making yourself too good of a target. So we're gonna try to duck behind this island. Alright, there we go. We go back to paying attention to other ships. Now, I'm using the rule of thumb that you want to aim about 1 tick per second. It usually equals out to being able to hit a cruiser at that speed. We got a nice hit there. That guy's not moving at all, and I am in a world of hurt here. I need to back up.
The ship is on fire.
He'll burn down here in a second, but I need to deal with the fact that everybody on the enemy team is shooting at me now.
Our team has taken the lead.
Now, we could have put our fire out there. Usually I think the rule of thumb is that you don't want to put out a single fire. Low level, it probably doesn't really matter, but it's just a habit not to do it if there's only one. Now, the positive for me having armor piercing is I have a much better chance of scoring a citadel. The downside to that is that I have a lot better chance of bouncing, because at least if I hit him with a high explosive shell, it would explode on contact with the ship, and then it would do some damage. Most of the time, anyway. Alright. Well, the remaining guys are not exactly in a great place for me. So we're gonna drive around, see if we can't see from the other side. And then of course we have 2 more that are in the north part of the map. We'll get a little extra practice in up there. Another Weymouth. I'm probably not going to hit this guy, but you know, you can always hope. Lots of Weymouths. So one of the wonderful things about the bots in this game is they do really like to capture the base. But every once in a while, just like a real player, they will have a change of heart and decide to sail off of the cap for no apparent reason whatsoever. Alright, so we actually did sink something. That's nice. There we go.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
So that's Tier 1, the British boat, Weymouth. It's fine. It's not great, it's not terrible. After you go through the Weymouth, you will jump up to the Caledon. I know that I skipped the Valkyrie, well, we'll come back to it in just a second. So Caledon, here we go. You're starting to get a little bit more stuff to do. We have a main battery, which is 5 152mm guns, pretty much like last time, but now we have 4 times 2 533mm torpedo tubes, and it looks like they shoot out to a range of 6 kilometers. So that's neat. We also have an AA defense, which is not really all that important at this point, but eventually there may be aircraft carriers in the game. Right now there's just scout aircraft, not really much to worry about. Yep, there you go, 35 seconds. I told you it'd be about 35 seconds every time. Islands. Huzzah. I guess this is the view from the other side of the map. You will notice that I have 2 torpedo launchers on each side of the boat, and that allows me to turn, empty one side, turn, empty the other side. I'll try to do that just for fun. I'm not really all that big of a fan of torpedoes, period.
General quarters.
So we have 2 twin mount on one side, 2 twin mounts on the other. This is how it works with British torpedoes. You can fire either a single torpedo or you can fire a spread, as opposed to the wide and narrow spread that you get from everybody else. But if we switch back over to our guns, you see we still just have the armor piercing option. No high explosive, unfortunately. We're probably going to see several Phoenixes. No Phoenixes. Fantastic. Phoenix is a very difficult ship for this ship to deal with sometimes.
Enemy cruiser sighted. Enemy destroyer detected.
I sometimes find this hard to deal with, aiming that just right when they're at a slight angle, because it's a little harder to figure the depth. That guy also has torpedoes, so I really do not want him to... Uh-oh. Scored a Citadel there, but we're probably going to be torpedoed here in a second, at least if that guy makes any reasonable decisions. I guess he's not.
Enemy cruiser foundered.
I find that slowing down when turning helps you turn better.
Enemy destroyer detected.
Torpedoes to starboard.
starboard.
Right now I am looking to starboard for those of you who are not too familiar with naval directions. This is bad. I am going to take one of these. I'm now taking on water. We're going to use that damage control module, and
Problem solved, sir.
you know, we get that under control real quick so that we don't kind of flood the ship over time.
Torpedoes to starboard.
There's some more torpedoes. As you notice, the first thing that we get is, as British cruisers, is not the hydroacoustic search, which would ordinarily allow me to sniff out those further distance. Instead, what we get is a heel, like a battleship. It's not as good as a battleship. Well, that guy's probably dead. But it is a heel, and you can make use of it. Now the thing you gotta realize is that these British ships are actually very fragile. The British cruisers are very much like cruisers.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
But they have some pretty good guns, and actually several of their ships have really impressive gunnery. Like sniper levels is amazing. If you were playing this normally, though, you would be able to advance through this Caledon. You could go on with the cruisers to the Danae. You can also go up right here to the Valkyrie. And we're going to come back to the Valkyrie later. We are going to come back to the Valkyrie later. We're going to go on to the Danae first. Here we go. Kind of looks the same. What you're going to find is we're still shooting those 152mm guns, just like the KV-2, but we're still shooting just armor piercing, like a KV-2 player who doesn't know what he's doing. We're going to have 4x3 533mm launchers. This is pretty much the same torpedo armament, except that each of the launchers, you can see on the boat, have 3 torpedo tubes instead of 2, and we have 2 sets of 3 on each side. A lot of destroyers have all of their armaments down the center line, which is kind of neat because you can shoot your maximum amount of firepower in one direction without having to turn your boat around. It's also usually has disadvantages too, in that you can't actually reload as fast usually. So we're switching this captain over because I think this is the captain that is supposed to be in this boat. There's a little bit of... The captains seem to function better in different types of ships. Like, some of them have very specific abilities that are only available on certain types of ships, like that improve the speed of torpedoes. That wouldn't be very useful on a battleship. Or they might have something that increases the duration of smoke, which wouldn't be very useful on anything other than a destroyer. A little bit over 30 seconds there. I'm going to jump into another game. The Ring. This one has a ring of islands. Everything else is water. See? Water, a ring of islands. Very clever. Actually kind of feels like this is the type of game that you could kind of have a random map generator in. and it shouldn't make that much of a difference. That would actually be a really interesting thing if they
General quarters.
tried to do that. So anywho, there we have our 6 guns instead of our 5. They're right down our center line. I can bring all 6 of them to bear in one direction instead of 5. But to do that, I do have to expose the broad side of my ship. And if I get hit like that, this boat will crumble in a hurry. It has the potential to put out a lot of damage, but it also will go down in a flaming heap of glory if you're not careful. I'm gonna try not to do anything stupid like immediately get torpedoed, but that's gonna happen in one of these games. I guarantee it.
Enemy cruiser detected.
So I think he's moving a little bit faster than 30 knots. So I'm putting my shells beyond the 1 tick per. He's gonna get annihilated there, so that's fun. Feeling kind of okay. I wasn't paying attention to that island symbol, clearly. We do have hydroacoustic search now, so we're turning that on because we're about to go try to deal with a destroyer. Still a little ram happy, I see. There's a Danae. I will demonstrate to you how easy it is to citadel this, I'm pretty sure. And I hit that while it was relatively well angled. I put those torpedoes significantly in front of where that line was because I expected that line to move around a lot further, as it did. Oh, this is bad.
Enemy destroyer blown up.
Okay, so there's an embarrassing moment for me. Not a great bit of seamanship, but you know, whatever. I live about 150 miles away from any significant body of water, and I don't know what I'm doing. It looks like I have significantly misjudged where those were going to end up. Now, the smart thing to do at this point would be to try to put as many shots into his guns as possible, because if his guns swing around and shoot me, that'd be real short. I'm not fast enough to outrun them. So it's time to start thinking about this.
We've destroyed an enemy battleship. We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Run and gun. I like it. Well, how can I do this without running into everything? There's what we just sank, a Wyoming. It's a pretty boat. think it has 6 12-inch guns all right down the center line. It can present quite a broadside if it can hit anything. A very pretty model. And somehow we've managed to get through this much of the game without the computer paying any attention to me. You can tell that guy's still over there. If you look at the map, there's a black silhouette of a battleship. I can also tell he's there because the cap is working down. And I can also tell he's there because he's got an aircraft up in the air. The aircraft will allow him to spot me significantly before I will be able to spot him. If he can spot me over an island. Once I get around this corner, though, I will probably immediately spot him, and he will probably immediately spot me too. And that means that I will have to outplay a battleship that's paying attention to me. And I would not count on that. So if there's any off-track betting going on, I would bet against TacticAngel here. Now, in a normal situation, even if I were to lose this, this is a game that my team should win because I would knock his capture points down. And the battleship on my team that is capturing the enemy base would cap the enemy base before this guy caps my base. But we will see exactly how well that actually works. So he's spotting me, I'm spotting him. He's looking in an interesting direction. See there, I got the defended. We're aiming high on the ship because I can't usually pierce much other than the front of his ship, probably. I'm trying to pay attention to the smoke that's coming out of his ship. Doesn't look like he's moving. Now it looks like he might be backing up. But those are still going to hit him. And I sink him after he's dead. So, low-level games, that'll happen quite a bit. Torpedoes are very powerful, particularly if you can get a whole bunch of them off. And at low levels, the battleships are not going to be able to fend off a lot of those sort of direct suicidal assaults. But you did see that guy, as soon as he got one good hit into me, it's all over. From this point, you get from the Danae. Right now, you're moving on to the Orion. I think in the future, we will probably be seeing more British Navy ships there that are cruisers. This is what the tech tree looks like right now for the Royal Navy. So we're at the Danae. We're going to go down to the Orion and work up this battleship line. So we're in another tier 3. This is the Orion. I'm going to quickly give this some extra stuff because this is not appropriately upgraded. And so, like, this is all adding stuff to the ship. In this case, we're going to pick up about 4,000 hit points. We're going to pick up some AA mounts, which don't do me a whole heck of a lot of good right now, but what are you going to do? So, the Orion. We're looking at 5 turrets with two 343 millimeter cannons in them. They shoot out to a range of 13.9 kilometers. We also have a secondary battery. The secondary battery shoots automatically at things within its range. This has a relatively short secondary range of 3.7 kilometers, and that's actually with one of the upgrades that you just saw me put on this ship. You got 1602 millimeter guns and four twin 102 millimeter guns. So a little bit of automatic self-defense. If something gets that close to me, I'm gonna guess that it's gonna torpedo me. So let's hope that doesn't happen. We'll take our 30 seconds here to think about what we're doing. Are there any other players out there? And obviously everybody I'm playing right now are computers. The nice thing about this weekend, and once this game comes out, is that we will have humans to shoot at. And humans are a little bit more interesting to shoot at because they don't act in quite as predictable a way, for better or for worse.
Battle starts.
What in the world?
Can you hear me?
What in the world?
I can't hear you.
It's rare to find another person on here that's actually doing something.
Yeah, I'm just driving the boats.
Yeah, supposedly the game's coming out in April. Supposedly.
I don't know why you wouldn't believe that.
I checked their forum site. They host all the stuff for this shit.
Target penetrated.
Oh, I see you all the way over here. I'm in a British cruiser.
The Danae?
Yep. Be nice if they would have more cruisers to use for the British.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of time.
What bugs me though is they don't have the Yamato for the Japanese. Because they have the Iowa for the US, but not the Yamato for Japan.
Well, the Iowa is not top tier in the PC version, and the Yamato is. So I think right now what we stop at is tier 9.
Well, tier 7 on here.
What I mean is we stop at the equivalent of PC's
torpedoes. Oh shit! I almost ate torpedoes. Torpedoes are very, very scary.
They are very powerful.
Target penetrated.
I feel like it's kind of a shame though how they compress the tiers on here.
I don't know, I consider this game to be significantly more fun than the actual PC version.
I mean, yeah, though, kind of like the PC version in terms of numbers of ships you get.
Our team is taking the lead. Enemy cruiser
I
destroyed.
could have done that smarter.
I kind of prefer the number of ships on PC to the number of ones on here.
Do you mean the total number of ships in the game, or do you mean the number of ships per battle?
Number of ships per tree that you...
Torpedoes, direct front.
Well, they'll get there.
Torpedoes, direct front.
Maybe once they get the game worked out a bit for here. So when did you start playing on here?
Day one.
Shit. I've been an alpha tester for a while, except I didn't really know I was an alpha tester until I looked in my email. What? Yes. Shit.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Enemy heavily damaged. Enemy cruiser destroyed.
So as it turns out, we didn't actually come within any sort of range to use our secondary battery, which is, you know, neither here nor there. But you got to see what it's like to be in a battleship. You can delete people on the other team if they show you their broadside, particularly cruisers. You're really going to murder cruisers pretty hard. Other battleships typically are well armored enough that they can take some damage. You also will find battleships harder to just one-shot because they have just so many hit points. So after that, you go on to the Iron Duke. Here's the Iron Duke. You'll see we are going to 5 twin-mounted 343mm guns. That's pretty much the same what we were doing before. Shooting out to 14.9 kilometers. Our secondary is a little bit further out. See, we can shoot to 5.4. We have 4 twin 102mm cannons and 12 152mm guns, kind of like the 152mm guns that we were shooting as our primary armament just about a half an hour ago. So there we go. I like this ship. Iron Duke is a real solid piece of machinery. I do like me some Royal Navy battleships. There are a few asterisks to that love, though, because I do not love them all. time, and here we're looking at Tier 4, I'm sorry. Looks like the enemy has 3 battleships, 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers. A perfect mix, I guess. So this is, we're so far away that the ticks don't usually work out quite as well. And that's probably not moving at the same speed as what I typically am thinking about. Getting into the follow view, and as you see, we have led that ship way too much. I'm turning bow in just to block some shots, but while I'm doing it, I'm slowing down here so that I don't get too close to that destroyer. Now you see the secondary opening up on that Acosta. Set him on fire. That's usually not a real good use of your main battery as a battleship, but what are you going to do? It's right there, and I don't want him to reload and get his torpedoes into me. Speeding up a little bit to get that Furitaka into range. Range of the secondaries, I should say. He's going to be swinging about, and as soon as he is not obscured by the bow of that ship, we're going to go ahead and put some punishment in there. Now I'm on fire, and he's probably launching torpedoes at me, so I'm going to start to turn. And I should be paying more attention to where I'm going. It looks like my AI team drew the short end of the stick, and I'm not exactly doing a great job here either.
Enemy cruiser sunk. Enemy battleship destroyed.
Alright, that helps quite a bit. I'm going to put this fire out because it doesn't look like I'm taking any fire from anybody right now. Everybody is to the east, so if I can figure out how to drive around this island, I should be in good shape. Oh no!
Problem solved, sir.
That terrain will block my shot, so that's why I'm not shooting at him. And as you can see, I've done just a terrible job missing everything. We're on fire again. As you can see, I can't get rid of the fire for another 40 seconds on the damage control party, so we're just going to have to take it here. I'm only turning to starboard to try to get my rear guns to rotate just a little bit faster.
The enemy team has taken the lead. We've sunk an enemy
A
destroyer.
lucky detonation. Well, if I win this game, it will be only that I have to sink almost all of the enemy ships myself. I could put out that fire, but that fire is going to go out on its own in a second. Is he really going to... Yep. And I guarantee you that New York's going to... It's going to sink here in a second because he took too much damage and he's probably flooding. Okay, the auto steering is sometimes a little bit weird in this game. And as you can see, I do prefer to be able to drive myself into islands, unintentionally or otherwise. So this Omaha, at the moment, doesn't threaten me too much. I think he's a little bit too far away, and he's not angled in such a way that he's going to be able to launch his torpedoes at me. And unless I start shooting like a real idiot, I should be able to sink him here. Alright, so it's just me and the New York. It looks like that was 2 turrets. The others are still coming about. We're gonna let his 3 rear turrets fire. I'm gonna go ahead and take my hit points back. Alright. Well, not super. Now we're both kind of broadside to one another, which is not ideal, because he will do a lot of damage to me. But our secondaries are going to start tearing each other up. And if I can stay far enough in front of him, he's not going to be able to get his rear 2 turrets around. But it doesn't mean that's not going to hurt. I'm putting these into his bow because his bow has weaker armor. Slowing down. Hard to starboard.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
Hello, Zino. I am okay. I am not incredible at this game by any means. So we're moving up the English tech tree. The next thing that we're going to see is the Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth is a mighty lovely ship. We get an upgrade in the guns. We're up to 381 millimeter main armament. We only get 4 of them though, 4 turrets instead of 5. We're shooting out to 15.8 kilometers. This particular battleship is incredibly accurate for a battleship, at least right now. Our secondary armament is going out to 4.2 kilometers. We have 10 turrets of 2 114 millimeter guns each. Here it is. I think this is a beautiful ship, and actually the tower there looks a lot like kind of a castle in its own right. So we're going to jump into a bot battle and see how it goes. So, is there a way to do that? Oh, look at that. We'll see if that actually works.
Battle starts.
Alright, here we go. Got standard 3, 3, and 3. I think that's how the matchmaker likes it when it has the choice. See if we can't reach out and touch somebody. Yeah, we're gonna be behind. Pretty good. No citadels, which is too bad, but took out a good chunk of his health. But one thing you should see or try to notice when this ship in particular is firing is the grouping of shots is actually pretty tight for a battleship. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference here because I'm spending too much time behind this, and I'm sure that Pensacola is just going to ram somebody. Yep, there you go. One thing about Royal Navy battleships, they are a little bit faster than American battleships by and large. Lots of bounces there. That's disappointing. So that New Mexico is in a bad place because he's a little bit too close to that Mayhem. And a... Well, he's still in the fight.
Fighter airborne.
As you notice, I didn't actually take that much damage there. That's because I was pretty well angled. He bounced most of his shots off my hull.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
Ramming in there low to try to hit his citadel. We didn't quite do it, but we got enough of them to make a difference. I'm loading high explosives right now, which is a really silly idea usually. Oh, I thought that Fubuki was coming the other way. Son of a gun. Okay. I'm gonna do a hard to starboard here and do a long,
Fighter returning to ship.
going the long way around this island, because I need to get back to challenge that Pensacola so that it doesn't just drive into my base. I'm not going to be able to make that narrow gap immediately, not without having planned ahead for this. And obviously this thing's turning radius isn't super great. So we're straightening out. I still have high X loaded, so there's a pretty good chance this will set him on fire. Instead, all I do is kind of annoy him. He's shooting a high X back at me. That's a pretty terrible shot. I'm bow in. That's not going to make too much of a difference if he's doing the smart thing and shooting high. Because he should be trying to set my superstructure on fire here. Whereas I can go straight through the front of his ship if I aim just a little bit high. I incapacitate one of his turrets, which is a good way to make sure he doesn't do too much damage to me.
The ship is on fire.
I'm slowing down quite a bit to give my rear turrets a little bit more time to turn around. I have completely taken out one of his forward guns. He does not have uh-oh. This is the reason why I wanted to turn around. Nope. Nope. So now we're in a real bad position here. I'm actually backing up to try to increase the distance. Looks like we cap out on the other side of the map, and there you go, victory for TacticAngel. Even though he didn't deserve it. So Queen Elizabeth, pretty good ship. Still a little soft compared to other battleships. After you get that, you go up to this thing, which just looks amazing. The King George V battleship. It's got two of these 4-gun turrets with a super firing twin gun turret. If we go into what are the actual guns that we're looking at, they are 354 millimeter guns, 16 kilometer firing range. We have 8 twin mounted 134 millimeter secondaries that in this case shoot out to 6 kilometers every 6.7 seconds. That's in part because I think I have an upgrade that increases it from 5 to 6 kilometers. But like, you look at this and you're like, man, I can just charge straight in. I've got 6 of my guns still facing the enemy. But regardless of what you're about to see happen, the King George V right now is a little frustrating to play. The Queen Elizabeth, super accurate, real nice gunnery on that ship. King George is not so much. Not even average. Below average in terms of its accuracy, and it makes the ship pretty frustrating to play because you're still a little soft. Twin brothers. We're gonna have a giant island split down the middle. You can sail down the middle if you don't like to play the game, because you will die. Super fat ship. Like, look at how wide that thing is, right?
General quarters.
So we're not breaking any land speed records here to get into the game, and I'm actually going to wiggle my controller here back and forth to keep the rear gun from rotating too far in any one direction before I'm ready to commit to left or right. We are going to have to go around the left side of that island immediately in front of me, but it's hard to say if I won't just immediately turn right back around, or if I won't go all the way to the left or to port. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and line it up.
Enemy destroyer sighted.
Nice. One hit. Went right through the New Orleans.
Enemy cruiser sighted.
We're going to bracket that. 2 right, 2 left.
Enemy battleship sighted.
So I think the only way for you to watch with Spanish subtitles would be if you watched it later, if there was an automatic translate feature. And I'm not sure if that exists or not, because I've never actually tried to do it.
The ship is on fire.
Alright, we're getting rocked here. We're trying to turn around. We're going to go ahead and activate the damage, or the repair party. Hopefully we get at least a couple hits there. That's pretty good. Oh, this could be bad. Well, that was lucky. Got some pretty decent damage in there. All honestly didn't matter when the computer decides to ram the enemy ship. We're not going to be able to turn around enough to avoid all those shots, or at least to bounce all those shots, I should say.
The ship is on fire.
Again, I think I'm kind of playing a stalling action because I am horrendously outgunned at this point. And I'm still burning. I'm shooting at that Miyoko because he's giving me his broadside, and that's kind of what I wanted to happen. Hopefully he doesn't speed up too quickly. Come on, come on, come on, come on. That's disappointing. We're going to need to repair this.
Problem solved, sir.
So we're keeping our angle up to try to keep these shots from penetrating. I'm going to run out of real estate here pretty quick, though. That was bad. Not leading those enough, and I am running out of hit points here. And I'm being engaged by a second battleship. So unless a miracle shot happens right there, I think TacticAngel is going to sink here. Okay, that's a King George. It shouldn't be able to hit the broadside of the Earth. Oh, so this is what the edge of the map looks like. So this is pretty much all she wrote for TacticAngel. I'm not sure what's going on here because my ship is not backing up as I am asking it to. So, anywho, the next hit should kill me, and that should be the end of the game. Wow, that was a nice shot. And I'm gonna guess this is all she wrote. There you go. So, as promised several hours ago, I said I would not be watching every one of those to their bitter end. We're going to go straight on to the Tier 10. Tier 10, to be completely honest, is not completely upgraded. So these stats, although subject to change, may be inaccurate anyway. We're looking at 4 381mm guns, 15.5 kilometer firing range. That should be longer when it's fully upgraded. We have 8 twin 134mm cannons, shooting out to 6 kilometers because of the equipment that I already have. As you can see, there are those small turrets right there, 4 on each side. So pretty decent secondary to start out with, but nothing compared to something like the Iowa. So in about 30 seconds it should be ready to drop me in a game, I think.
Battle starts.
Got a good looking bow. It's good. Like the lines on these British ships.
Yeah, I love the British ships. Yeah, this is my favorite ship right here, King George.
Yeah?
Yeah, I enjoy this ship.
I find that ship can't hit the broadside of the earth.
Really?
Yeah, I've had... Queen Elizabeth can hit anything.
I'm in the King George.
But the King George,
King George V
is the one that comes
I'm
after
in a
that.
battleship. Yeah, I'm in a tier, what is this?
6.
Tier 6.
Well, what I'm saying is, I like the battleship that comes before it a lot more.
Yeah. I play this one more. I guess that's why I play this one every night. New Orleans is pretty good too.
Hopefully with 2 humans, we should be able to dispatch the Cylons with ease.
Yeah, I'm all the way over to the other end, I think.
Enemy battleship detected.
Play tanks?
I do.
There you go. I'm in a trauma clan.
For better or worse, I don't pay a lot of attention to clans.
Yeah. Been playing about the computer and PlayStation about 6 years. This guy's trying to ram me.
Yeah, I started on the computer, but I stopped playing when they brought this game or World of Tanks out on console until they brought it out on PlayStation.
Yeah, I played on console. They did an update, and then it kept crashing and wasn't playing right, so I gave up.
Huh.
I saw it again when it came out on PlayStation.
There was a huge update today. It took forever, and I know it's the Italian ship or the Italian ship. I got
Thanks.
boats on the brain.
I hear you. I'm gonna be playing that next anyway.
The ship is on fire.
I know it's that, but you can't play them yet, which makes me sad.
Come on, that didn't kill him. There we go, that's 2 kills.
Problem solved, sir.
Why is it turning me towards...
This is auto steering.
It steered me into the barrier of the map.
Nice. Alright, oh, you're at the end?
Yeah,
You're on the end of the map. I hate that shit.
I started to try to steer away from it, but it was like, no, I got a secret. If you go over here, you can get torpedoed by this Gervais. That'll be much more entertaining.
Torpedoes astern. Enemy destroyer torpedoes astern. We're hold below the waterline.
Yep.
We're flooding engine damage.
Hey, what's it doing? I'm not turning. Just ran aground. Unreal.
Yep, there you go.
Maybe a little lag action going on.
Alright, let's see here. Yeah, you're still doing pretty well.
Yeah, well. You use the commanders, right? You go through all the commanders, you see all the different traits.
I did. I like the way that they do that.
Because the guy I got on this gives you 1 extra, like airplanes and health thing, and everything regenerates a little faster. I think it's Sims and the Americans and whoever I have on this one now.
I think I had the Vine. I think I used him because you get more from your repair party.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the 6% or whatever that you get for having just a tier 6 captain is probably enough to justify that, but you know, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
The British ones actually seem to have, like, no matter what you do, one of your skills is going to be not very useful for any particular class.
I think that's what all of them, ain't.
I kind of feel like Halsey is straight up Battleship for the Americans, and you're not compromising much there. Sims is fantastic for destroyers, particularly if you like to run and gun as a destroyer, because you're gonna have the faster reload on your main armament because they're under 140 millimeter.
Yeah. I killed this fucking Vanguard already. There we go. Story. I got another battleship I gotta fight.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. So I switch over to armor piercing at the beginning of the battle. Like, if he's full health, and I try to hit the Citadel.
Mm-hmm. I do wish they would add the armor viewer to this, because some of the armor
Seen it, yeah.
is a little less obvious to some of us where the Citadel is on some of these ships, because some of them...
Well, it's... Once you find them, you figure out where they are, you're alright. It's like on some of the battleships, I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, and sometimes, like in the Americans, I notice myself getting hit in the bow a lot and getting Citadeled, and you're like, what is going on up there?
Yeah, the New Orleans is like towards the center rear.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that. Where's this other guy at now? Successful reboot to it. Nice. Where is he?
He's to your starboard. It looks like.
Yeah. There he is. I got more health on him.
Well, I wasn't completely worthless.
What is?
I wasn't completely worthless.
Oh, you got a kill.
Well, I also damaged that guy. I think technically my secondaries killed the other ship.
Yeah, I'm pretty decent with like the battleships on this because I play artillery all the time, on tanks. I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like that.
I guess that's one way to look at it. Everybody always compares artillery to playing an aircraft carrier on the PC.
Yeah. Where is he? He disappeared again. There he is.
That looked like you missed a lot.
I didn't.
Oh, there's a couple hits, yeah.
Wow, this thing's going super slow tonight.
My childhood.
It might be best just bow tanking him.
Uh-huh. Your ship is on fire. What I definitely don't like is how the aft gun always turns the opposite way. And I'm not turning again. Thank you, honey. Come on, back up already.
Ugh.
I got this. Gonna get him in a minute. Right here. My bitch. Kill it.
Oh, you're shooting high X?
Yeah. Five, four, three, two, one.
There you go. Well done. Alright, see, we got some rewards for playing that, I guess, relatively well. I didn't really do it. The other guy did most of the work. So, I said we would come back to this. This is the Valkyrie. We're going to go ahead and make sure that it's appropriately upgraded, and as I do that, you can actually see little bits of it changing. So this is our Valkyrie. It's a little guy. It's going to run around like a maniac. We like to use camouflage on this because it's going to make my life just a little bit easier. So we have 4 102mm pop guns. We've got 2 twin torpedo launchers. And we are pretty stealthy and pretty maneuverable. This is a destroyer. These are the destroyers of the Royal Navy. They play a little bit different than the destroyers of any other navy. And the reason for that is because they don't get a speed boost. Instead, they usually get hydroacoustic search, but that's a little bit later. We're gonna have to kind of experience the line before we get that benefit. Alright, so if you look on the map, we've got a lot of destroyers versus a lot of destroyers. So here you go, you can fire the widespread, you can fire single, just like you could with the British cruisers that had torpedoes. We can switch back over, and unlike the British destroyers, or unlike the British cruisers, the British destroyers can fire armor-piercing or high-explosive.
Enemy destroyer sighted.
It's not going to swing around in time. I'm gonna run into an island here, probably. So you can still get unlucky and catch one of these torpedoes, but for the most part, if you're moving around, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of them. Probably not going to survive this part of the encounter. Yep, that's not going to work. Got a lucky citadel there.
Torpedo, dead ahead.
Not super, but we're still alive, which is better than I thought it was going to be.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Slowing down, turning into it.
Torpedoes, dead ahead. Torpedoes to port. Torpedoes to port.
I'm looking to port, for those of you who are wondering.
Our team has taken the lead.
Uh-oh.
Critical engine damage. The ship is on fire. Torpedoes to port. Torpedoes to port.
So, that's the wild, wild west of Tier 2 matches that have too many destroyers in them. Probably ordinarily we would win that match. We were certainly on the way. But like I said, we're not going to stand around and watch a bunch of robots fight each other. I made an exception to watch a human fight a bunch of robots because, you know, the humans must prevail. After you go to that, you're going to be able to go to this Wakefield. Wakeful is a little bit of an upgrade. Here you see we're going out there again with 4 guns. This time they're 120 millimeters. We can shoot them out to 10.8 kilometers. We have 2 sets of 3 torpedo launchers, which means we have slightly more torpedoes, but still not a lot. And there they are, right down the center line. And just like the Tier 2 to Tier 3 cruiser, it's because they're in a triple mount instead of a double mount. So this will be very similar, but maybe hopefully not quite as speedboat torpedo intensive. And maybe we can go sneak up on some unsuspecting battleship and show you why battleships fear destroyers. So there we go. We got 3, 3, and 3, so we should have a little bit better chance to play well in this game. Key to the ring is not to go into it, not to look into it. You can go into it, it's just really dangerous. So it looks like he repaired his engine or steering. So we knew that that fire was going to stick, but it doesn't really matter that much because he immediately gets sunk by the other destroyer. Oh no. That bit of gobbledygook you just saw on my screen is that my controller is running low, so I will be switching that out at some point.
generator started. Smoke screen set. Problem solved, sir.
I'm gonna guess he's gonna sail into every one of these.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
Seconds, huh?
Torpedoes to starboard. Torpedoes astern. Torpedoes astern.
Shooting a little high to try to hit his superstructure.
Torpedoes astern. Torpedoes to starboard.
Our team has taken the lead.
Set fires just like that. It looks like he put it out, which means he shouldn't be able to do it if I do it again. Sounds like we've got some torpedoes ready, so let's go ahead and put those fishies in the water. Well, that's no good. But we did our part.
We've destroyed an enemy battleship.
So, you know, there you go. The single launch torpedo, definitely a huge plus, in my personal opinion, but your results may vary. So there you saw we did have the smoke screen that you find on most of your destroyers. I think all of your destroyers, really. But working up the line, here we are at the Acosta. We're going to go ahead and throw on a little bit of camouflage just for the fun of it. And then look at what we've got. We're still up to 4 120mm guns. We are looking at 2 quad launchers of the exact same torpedoes, pretty much. Still shooting out to a range of 6 kilometers. That's going to start to increase as we go up the line, but we just keep slapping on just a little bit more armament. Alright, and here we go. We're all by ourselves. 3, 3, and 3. Not a lot of variety here, except in the destroyer market. Other than that, we got a lot of Iron Dukes. Now, the way that this map works is that half of each team spawns on the top and on the bottom of, well, like I'm spawning catty corner to the other 5 ships on my team, and they have the same arrangement, just reversed. So they have the lower left and the upper right, if you're looking at the map. Real annoying, honestly, but what are you going to do? Our hope here at the beginning of the game is to shoot some marginally well-aimed torpedoes down this corridor that hopefully other boats will sail into. If you look at the mini-map, it will show you 2 tightly bound concentric rings. Those rings represent the maximum range of my torpedo, and then also ability range. So what I'm hoping to do is launch all these torpedoes in such a way that they will sail into them. And then I'm going to stop behind here. And survey one of my ships sailing straight into them. And no one else. TacticAngel is so good at this game, it's ridiculous. Okay. So now that we've done that, and not really come up with much to show for it, yeah, 45 seconds to wait on this crap. Trying to get the front of his ship so that I maybe can set the bow on fire too. He'll probably, I was about to say he'll probably burn to death, but clearly not.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser. Our team has taken the lead.
What are we looking at? 4 seconds here?
Critical engine damage.
We do not have time to be messing around with this guy. Somebody needs to go back to the base and make sure that they don't capture it. If I stop shooting, eventually he will unspot me. Unfortunately, it requires a bit of faith. So there you go. I'm no longer spotted. And now I get hit. Yeah, okay. So it looks like there is an Iron Duke back there, very quickly capturing my base. He cannot see me because he's outside of that other ring. Honestly, his guns are facing the wrong way, which really makes me want to shoot at him as quickly as possible, but I want to be close enough to this island that I can duck away.
Smoke generator started. Problem solved, sir. Smoke screen set.
Let's pray for those front torpedoes, right? The second spread is on a wide arc, which is not super wise to do.
Torpedoes astern.
Torpedoes behind me, huh? I need more time. Don't add the power! Alright, we got one part of him on fire. We're gonna switch our aim to maybe set another part. Never mind. And we apparently cap. TacticAngel wins, mostly by wasting somebody else's time. Still, like, you get that a lot, particularly when you're playing the computer. Not to be dissuaded, we're going to go ahead and go up to the next tier. We are looking at the Icarus. The Icarus is pretty much exactly what you would expect based on the trend we've already seen. 4 120mm guns. We're inching forward in terms of range, just barely, and we have quintuple mounts. So we have 2 5-shot torpedo tubes, pretty much looking at the same idea. I think this is a really sexy looking ship, by the way. It looks very modern, actually, minus the fact that guns on a ship don't look modern. Yeah, back on straight. Nice. What do you say? Same old stupid plan? I think this time it'll work. This time we'll just send 5 torpedoes. Right?
Battle starts.
So overall, in terms of what this line is pretty good at, single shot torpedoes, fantastic. As you see, we've picked up hydroacoustic search now, so I can activate that, and I can pick up enemy torpedoes coming in at quite a range. That's kind of neat. They are decent gunboats, particularly at tier 6 and Tier 7. But I guess what you'd say is they're not as good as the Japanese at torpedoing things, and they're not as good at as the Americans at shooting things. So they're kind of a middle ground, and they're kind of slower than either one of them, which isn't terrible, but it's noticeable. Well, that Mayhan is gonna screw up my plans here.
Smoke generator started.
So I'm gonna see if I can't
Smoke
help.
screen set.
What happened to the guys who could spot him?
Our team is taking the lead.
Torpedoes to port.
Oh, no likey. Oh yeah, that's not good for the Eboa.
Enemy cruiser sunk. Victory is in sight.
Oh, did you screw up? It looks like you screwed up. That's good. Son of a gun.
Enemy battleship sunk. Our victory is in sight.
That's not gonna work. Let's see. The reason why the British are relatively good gunboats is actually going to become more apparent next year. Queen Elizabeth. I love it. We're going to use this island to shield our approach. We are detected though, so that's not so good.
Smoke screen set.
So somewhere out there is a Queen Elizabeth, and it's looking for us. We got 2 torpedoes and an unlimited number of deck guns. There, what? That's really close to me. Oh, that's super bad. Now, the reason why we launched one at a time is because I'm pretty sure he's going to put out the flooding on the first one. And we want to be able to run away. And still do a bunch of damage.
The ship is on fire.
Yep, the ship is on fire. Alright, so you see every second here I'm doing around exactly 1,000 damage. So he's bleeding out pretty quick. It's actually a pretty good game. I'm sure that the other guy has his attention by now, so we're going to come around the corner and be real charitable. Put
Enemy battleship sunk.
a couple shots into his bridge and finish off the game. There we go. We did something. Made a bunch of money. Great. I don't think any of that money is carrying over. But anyway, it would be nice if it did. So here we go. Gervais, we're up to the tier 6. I almost said 8 for some reason, but it's tier 6. This is a lovely little ship. You'll notice something about the number of obstructions on that rear turret. Not very many. Not very many. So what did the Gervais got? It has 3 twin 120mm cannons, so we've bumped up the total by 2. Still shooting the 120mm, shooting it just a little bit farther at 10.7 kilometers. We have the same number of torpedoes. At this point, we're shooting out to 8 kilometers, though, which is pretty good, and 63 knots is not exactly a slow torpedo. I think some of that might be my commander. Not real sure what's going on. But let's just go ahead and jump into it, see what happens. This looks like I'll probably be playing with another person, though. There's a familiar face.
Action stations.
I'm heading over to you, Angel.
Yeah?
I'm heading over to you.
Kind of looked like you wanted to go straight up the middle.
No, I was trying to do like 3 things at once. I didn't know Mountain Dew was made with moonshine. My stepdaughter's watching this thing about soda and all the stuff that's in it. Back when it was first made, half of them, you got addicted to soda back in like the 1800s. Coca-Cola had
cocaine.
Coca-Cola had cocaine in it. Mountain Dew had moonshine. That's wild.
I bet Mountain Dew would have been a lot better with moonshine.
Oh, yeah. Watch the torpedoes in front of you. How they fall off.
Yeah, they are way in front of me.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I'm right behind you now. Okay, I'm on New Orleans. Hold on. Not on yet. 2 hits.
Ooh.
That was pretty cool. Hold on, honey. The colors?
Oh yeah, the Nagatos secondaries are no joke.
I'm getting rounds on them.
Oh, he's dead. He just doesn't know it yet.
Oh, no, right now. There it goes. You stole my kill, fool!
Did you see that beautiful daisy chain of... Oh no.
I saw that. I saw it. Alright, I'll be here.
It looks like they're gonna swing around the base. It looks like one of them must have gone right up the middle, as it often does.
Yeah. Alright, I'll swing right here. Hold on.
It's not a race, but if it is, I'm gonna win.
Oh yeah, big time. Oops, sorry.
Dirty pool.
Don't scratch my paint.
You get a good feeling of how small this ship is.
Yeah. Which one is that? The Gervais? Yeah, those were tiny. In World War II, my father was on the Kretschmer. Oh shit, destroyer right in front of you.
Ship is on fire.
And that's all she wrote. So let's see about this. Last time I tried to upgrade this, it, well, politely said it didn't work. So we will just try to very daintily upgrade one or the other. So here's what you can do as you're upgrading these. Torpedo tube modification, reload time down, but you're going to have your torpedo tubes knocked out a whole bunch. It's great if you don't get hit. Main battery reload time down, but traverse time up. I don't know. Range is good. We're gonna try this. We're gonna just we're gonna try to see how bad that is. So anyway, we're moving on up. We got the same armament with strangely less firing range, probably because I chose a different thing in the other one. When we go to the torpedoes, still at 8 km, we have fewer of them. But it looks like the reload time is down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and paint this bad boy up. And we have the same commander in this, and this is kind of what you get to choose here. The reason why this commander I like for these particular gunboats is because reload time for under 40 millimeters, that's my main armament. Minus 5%. Torpedo speed plus 2 knots makes it easier to hit things. Makes it less likely that they're going to dodge. We got sea detectability down. I could go with faster movement. I don't know if 2, 3, 4% is going to make that big of a difference. And then we have the smoke screen generator. I don't really consider that to be much of a win because the smoke screens on the British ships are a little bit peculiar. You get a lot of charges. You can use them on a relatively short recharge, but the smoke does not last very long. Alright, looks like we are all by ourselves. There's our tiny little boat. Now you will notice that these turrets, maybe minus the one in the very front, will rotate all the way around. Including the one in the very front. So none of that, I have to wait to get my gun to rotate the long way around. The guns always rotate the short way around. So we'll be real interested to see if we can make this a little bit more gunny with that reload speed. The 8 kilometer torpedo range, you can see here I have a much greater margin of error in terms of shooting my torpedoes without being seen. Amogami's out at 11 kilometers, probably moving at about 25 knots. In a second I'll be able to that's not what we want to do.
Generator started. Smoke screen set.
There we go. That fire will stick because he's already used his repair. Now we're trying to hit him a little bit forward on the ship. We do manage to hit him with a torpedo, amazingly enough, even though there was a bit of confusion in the enemy backfield about who was going to drive into who. But as you can see at this point, we're getting a lot of free damage. That Megami is dead. I am aiming very far forward on the ship because if I can set his bow on fire, that'll make this even more hilarious.
Our team has taken the lead.
Yep. That's neat. Couple of float planes. Oh. My counterpart's behind me.
Our team has taken the lead.
I'm talking about.
Our victory is in sight.
We're doing our part though. You're up to 78,000 damage here. Very fun ship. Now I can't fire all. Like, notice that there's a little yellow circle in the middle of the circle that has the line down the middle of it. That's telling me my back gun can't fire, and it can't fire until I get out to like here on the ship, you know, like 20 degrees either way. Still, it leaves you a lot of versatility, and just not having to rotate your ship around, or your turret around the entire backside of your ship, is super useful. Alright. We've caught sight of the Vanguard. We're gonna go ahead and steer right towards it because I would love to hit something with my torpedoes and have earned it. But I'm chasing a battleship that is not exactly that much slower than me. So unless he slows down, this is going to take a little bit. I will be able to engage him at just under 10k. But it looks like he's backing up now. That's a weird choice. We're not going to want to do that because we don't want him to turn his back guns around and start shooting us. That's going to be bad for business. Having him spotted is probably good enough. It looks like he's starting to engage somebody else. He's going to notice us here in a second. But I'll let him get his guns just about as far as he can get them the other way before unleashing his volley.
Critical engine damage. Smoke generator started. Problem solved, sir. Smoke screen set.
I don't know about that. Yep. And there it is. So that has been at least every British ship that I know is in the game right now. Thankfully we won most of our games. I think this is a pretty fun little line. I really do like the British destroyers. Once you get to tier 5 and you get that hydroacoustic search, for the most part I do like all of the British battleships except for the King George V, which seems to miss a lot, like a lot. Now you heard from one of the other players as we went through this whole thing that he thought it was a great ship, so, you know, hopefully you think it is too. So, you know, it is what it is. Different people are going to like different ships. Anyway, I hope you found this stream a little bit informative. Hopefully we will see you all on the high seas this weekend for the beta playtest. I will be shooting tons of people, maybe streaming a little, probably embarrassing myself, driving into islands, being generally a pretty terrible player. But anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.